Guys, I am so ready for this football season. You don't even know. Why Dominic Solanke is Tottenham's best signing in years. I know nothing about this player other than that he came from Bournemouth, and people are raving about this pickup for Spurs. And I'm thrilled about it. So let's get into this. Well, that gum. By the way, this is 442. Go shout out to these guys. Fantastic channel.
Right, hello everybody. Adam Cleary from 442 here, and two headlines for you this morning. One, Dominic Solanke looks like he is going to Tottenham, and two, it was way too hot to be wearing a jumper. Now, what is particularly interesting to me...
Adam, I need to know where Adam's at, because I've talked to some of you from the old UK. It's never too hot. Stop talking about it being too hot. Just yesterday, 96 degrees with a feels like temperature, the heat index of 112 Fahrenheit. That right there had me about to die. My parents actually live, and it's way hotter with 105 degrees Fahrenheit actual temperature. It's hot. It's really hot. So I don't know where Adam Clary's from. If he actually lives somewhere where it's hot, my bad.
A dork about this is that a few years ago you would have looked at it and thought, oh, Dominic Solanke going to Tottenham, that's the most Spurs transfer imaginable, in a bad way. But now, given specifically what he does on a football pitch and the way this Tottenham team plays, you look at it and...
Let's look at this squad here. Porro, Romero, Van... That's going to be good. It's going to be a good season. Good season.
You think, oh, Dominic Solanke going to Tottenham, that's the most Spurs transfer imaginable, in a good way. That's the intro. All right, so first off, despite all the injuries and form and various other changes, this was Ange Postecoglou's preferred shape and preferred players across last season. Which I was a bit surprised at, actually. I thought James Maddison missed loads of last season, but he started like 26 league games, so... And obviously they started really brightly, but they tailed off towards the end. But we will come back to this team and this system and this manager and these players in a little bit, because first, you need to understand who Dominic Solanke is and what he does. Probably the easiest way to describe him is like maybe Ivan Toney aside. Dom Solanke is the best centre-forward in the Premier League, not currently at a elite or like European challenging club. He finished joint fourth in the Premier League for the total number of goals. He averaged exactly 1 goal every 2 games. When you start discounting penalties from that, he actually finished third in the league. He was third as well for non-penalty expected goals, if you're a nerd like me and you enjoy that kind of thing. He was fourth for the...
Okay, so 16 non-penalty goals, rank is second. 19 goals, that rank is fourth. His XG is 18.1. Wow. 109 shots.
The total number of shots. He was fifth for the number of touches in the opposition box. Those are elite numbers, and with respect to Bournemouth, he was doing that at Bournemouth. He is a proper centre-forward. Like, if we look at this very cool graph that Opta kindly made, showing all his shots and his goals from last season, obviously the goals are the big pink
this
ones.
is hyping me up, bro.
Circle ones with a hole in it.
Spurs are gonna do this to me, aren't they? I'm already bracing for it. This is how I feel about the Dallas Cowboys every year. I'm so hyped. This season looks like it's gonna be... Man, I'm so hyped for this season. I'm going to be watching them closely. And they're going to... I would hate for him to perform so well and then stab a dagger through my heart at the end.
That's pretty straightforward.
Already preparing for it.
He just loves being in the box. Like, there's such a high concentration in the 6-yard box. There's like a few more scattered around sort of the width of the goal, and he very rarely finds himself either out wide or outside the box. There are 16 goals in total there. We got 19 across the season, but we're not including the penalties. So there's 16 goals from open play there, and they come from an XG of 15.7, which tells you that he's not an elite, fantastic finisher that gets you things out of absolutely nothing. But if you are a team capable of laying on the chances, he will consistently and...
I'll tell you that. Ange will get you chances. Ange will get you chances. I remember that. That was one reason why I loved watching Spurs last year. was there was so much creation, so many chances created. So you're going to get lots of opportunities here. I think he's going to fit really well. Really, really well.
Dependably convert them. Just to put all that in a little bit of context, I sort of pulled this FB ref graph together showing him versus like Alexander Isak, Erling Haaland, Mo Salah, Ollie Watkins, and Son Heung-min, who was playing that position for Tottenham. You can see that he profiles really similarly to Watkins and Isak in terms of the number of shots he's able to get away per game, and more specifically, the average XG of all the shots he gets. And I know I'm banging up.
Wow, so he's right there in the same stratosphere as some really good players. Erling Haaland, Alexander Isak, Mohamed Salah, Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins was a player that I didn't really follow much last year, but to see him play with England in the Euros, I was very impressed with Ollie Watkins. So he's statistically sitting right there with these guys. That to me is very, very encouraging stuff. Hey there, let me show you something cool that I'm doing over on Patreon. Here on Patreon, on the $5 tier, I am reacting to videos that I can't upload here on YouTube. Look, Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0, the game highlights, the game footage. This would get blocked in a second on YouTube. I'm also, the Hand of God game, Diego Maradona and the goal of the century. I just put this one up on Patreon for the $5 tier memberships. For the $1 US dollar a month, you get to see the game highlights of Paul Pogba and all the other players that I've been reacting to, along with any kind of video that gets blocked on YouTube. Look at the dramatic final between Bayern Munich and Manchester United. What an epic game. And I'm doing classic games as well as following through all the World Cups, $5 US dollars a month. I'd love to see you over there. I'm having a blast uploading these things, and it really helps me help support the channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Now back to your video. All right, let's get back to the video.
I know about XG a lot, and a lot of people don't really think it's that important, but it is a good measure of the quality of chance. Like, Solanke isn't snatching at things from outside of the box. He finds himself in really good positions to convert from. And if you can, just humour me for a few more seconds on the whole XG thing. When you look at all the XG he got across the season and you minus the goals from that, this is where he ranks with all those other strikers. Like, Son is miles ahead in this because he's got like a long-range rasper in his locker, and that sort of distorts the numbers there. But the out-and-out centre-forwards, he's only fractionally behind Watkins and Isak and ahead of Haaland and Salah. And just, if I haven't managed to hammer this point home with all those numbers, let me put it in a small amount of words, okay? He is not an elite get-you-stuff-out-of-nothing centre-forward, but he is very, very good, and more importantly, very reliable. And that means that theoretically any club in the Premier League that was looking for a goal scorer should have been looking at Dom Solanke. But Tottenham are not just any club in the Premier League. They have other specific needs, and they are specific needs that Dom Solanke also ticks every single box for. Last season, he led the Premier League. Not just was one of the better ones, was top for the total number of pressures applied to the opposition. So the amount of closing down he did, the amount of attempting to win the ball back.
Good.
He was the most proactive player of any position for trying to do that. He led the Premier League.
That's my kind of player. You guys have, those of you who have watched me watch, especially if you were in my live streams for the Euros, you know this is my ideal kind of player. I love that it's not a gegenpress exactly, but I love the way that that Spain were playing. I'm not saying that Spurs are going to play like Spain, but I love that type of play where you're pressing and trying to turn the ball over so you can get a goal creation set up. And so if he's going to press like that and be a effective player when it comes to pressing, and then also an effective goal scorer, I am so hyped. I am going to be let down in such a dramatic way. I doubt it, actually. Now that I'm a fan, they're going to finally do it.
For pressures all over the pitch. He led the Premier League for pressures in the final third specifically, and he led the Premier League for pressures that then led to a shot on goal. Now, the
That's
vast
my
majority
kind of
of the
player.
credit for this does go to Iraola and how quickly he transformed Bournemouth into this really aggressive, high-pressing side. But were this not part of Solanke's inherent makeup, he wouldn't have flourished quite like he did. And I cannot thank Opta enough for their continuous hard work in the world of football graphs that I can neatly overlay on my pitch here. But this is a brilliant diagram showing you where Dominic Solanke applied pressure across the course of the season. The numbers here basically represent how many times per 90 minutes he pressured the opposition in that specific area. And you can see it's so front foot. Yes, there is a little bit in his own half because sometimes you will just have to sit back and that's how football is. But the vast majority is in the opposition third and he's not afraid to go all the way forward and do it in the opposition box. And I was there, man. I saw it happen. I was at St. James's Park when he closed down an errant back pass to the goalkeeper and got a goal from absolutely nothing. Like, that doesn't just happen if you're loitering around. That happens because you're the kind of player that does
Yes. That's the kind of player I want.
that every single time. So that's good, isn't it? Obviously, he's very good. He does everything you want in front of goal. He's a force of nature when you're out of possession as well. But why is this specifically so good for Tottenham that were I a Spurser, I would have a flare up my bottom the day this gets announced? As we said at the very start of the video, Tottenham started so brightly in the league. They were top for long periods, but then they slowly faded away and somehow missed out on the top four. And the reason for both of those facts is literally the same reason. Ange Postecoglou came in and he really quickly implemented this aggressive front foot, play it forward, press them to death style of play. And in the opening weeks of the season, players like Udogie, players like Van de Ven, players like Maddison made this system absolutely sing, and they scared the life out of everyone they played. I'll always go back to this, that 2-2 draw at the Emirates. Both of those goals that Tottenham score, Arsenal simply cannot believe that is happening to them. For the first, they cannot believe that Tottenham are breaking up the field that quickly and that incisively. And for the second, they cannot believe they are being pressed that aggressively. But the problem they had as the season went on was they got major injuries to several players who made this system sing. And all of a sudden, you're trying to play really high, really front foot, really suffocate the opposition. But you've got Ben Davies here having to cover back all this distance. And you're trying to have these fullbacks invert into the middle. And it's not Udogie, it's Emerson Royale. And he did get a lot of criticism for this, Postecoglou, if you remember. People said he should have adapted Tottenham's style to not quite be so aggressive, given the personnel they didn't have available. But of course, I say, no. Never compromise on anything, ever. Be stubborn, be rigid, be a complete nightmare. That's what I do. Anyway, so the point I'm actually trying to make here is that Postecoglou has fundamentally altered the DNA of this team very quickly. Like, if we look at this graph that Sky made, in one season he took them from being bottom of the league in terms of their starting position for both offensive and defensive actions and turned them into the highest team in the league from that. They literally went from being the most back foot team to the most front foot team. They were top of the league last season for the number of high turnovers where they win the ball back close to the opposition goal, and they were second for the number of chances they created from high turnovers. They are so aggressive, they are so front foot. When the players are available, it works really well. But one thing they could never quite get right was the identity of the centre forward. Like, Tottenham were fourth in the league last season for the total number of shots they created. They were a really attacking team, but they dropped down to like 7th or 8th for the total number of goals. Just to put that in its most basic terms, they are a Champions League side when it comes to creating chances, and they're just about a Conference League side when it comes to taking them. And the problem primarily was Son, who I'm not having a go at in any way, shape or form. I thought he did fantastic last year. It's just that they lost Harry Kane and they didn't get a direct replacement, so he found himself pressed into playing into the middle and didn't really suit him. And as a result, he was kind of in and out of that position. Like, he played the bulk of his games as their centre forward, 23, I think, in total, but he also had 12 more starts on this left-hand side because he just never quite clicked. And I'll show you what the problem is, right? This is Son's seasonal heat map across the last campaign. You can see he spends loads of time over here and he spends loads of time there. It's because obviously he was interchanging positions across the season. But his last game that Tottenham won, where he played centre forward, was the win against Burnley. And they dominated the ball, so everybody was involved a lot, right?
Of course they beat Burnley.
And this is his heat map from that game specifically. Now, what you should be noticing here is he does most of his work outside the box. Now, yes, Burnley did defend deep, so there wasn't a lot of space, but you would still expect a focal point centre forward to be further up, to be far more concentrated around this area, not drifting sort of all over the place and even back in his own half, doing bits and pieces. And the problem with that is that the Ange ball system has so much interchanging going on from the 6s and the 8s, and it wants the fullbacks to get involved here, and it sometimes wants the wide players to hold the width, but sometimes it wants them to sneak in when the play's developing on the other side. It wants these guys to steal in when the centre forward can create space. There's so much movement, there is so much flexibility, but it is all built around a central pivot. And this is a real deep cut graphic for you, right? In Ange's last season at Celtic, his starting centre forward was Furuhashi, right? And from that season, this is his seasonal heat map. And straight away, what do you notice about that? Like, obviously there's splotches here, there, and everywhere, because across the course of the entire season, that's gonna happen. But the vast majority, the biggest concentration of his actions are all deep into the box. Now you look at that, which is what a centre forward is supposed to be doing in this system, and you compare it again to Son versus Burnley, it's night and day. And then, and here's the real payoff of the video, you compare that to Dom Solanke's seasonal heat map from Bournemouth last season, and would you look at that?
That's the kind of player you need. And that's what we were saying, man. If Ange can get his players in, if he can get the players that fit his system, I don't know. Adam Cleary's selling it for me here. He's selling it really hard, and I am about ready to sign on the dotted line and purchase. I'm picking up what he's putting down.
It's right where everything is supposed to be. This is funny, obviously, because he takes a lot of kickoffs, but other than that, everything he's doing, where possible, is in this central area. It's between the width of the goals, it's in the 18-yard box. Hell, let's stick his shots and his goals on top of that again, and it paints the picture of someone who is an out-and-out egg and chips centre forward. So, and I'm feeling very pleased with myself here, just to recap, what are Tottenham's major problems from last season? Well, they create a lot of chances, but they don't reliably take them, and also they don't have a central focal point in the 18-yard box leading their attack. And what is Dom Solanke? You can say it at home with me if you like. He is someone who reliably takes his chances and is a central focal point forward at the very point of their attack. And oh, wait a minute, what have we got here on the heat map? Is that some vital defensive contributions in his own 18-yard box? Well, if we just get the old FB ref stats up, you can see that he's by no means one of the best players in the world at winning headers, but he's certainly incredibly competent at them. And you think back to last season where Tottenham had that really bad run where they were conceding loads of set-piece goals, all of a sudden, having a much bigger, stronger, better in the air centre forward than someone like, say, Son, means you've got an extra defensive weapon at the back as well.
I'm so excited. Oh, my word.
Funny that, isn't it? Now, obviously, nothing is guaranteed in football, but I think, honestly, this is probably the best player-to-club fit I've seen so far in this transfer window. Like, he is a player whose every ability, whose every positive is exactly what Tottenham need right now. Now, maybe that's the kiss of death on him. Maybe he gets 3 goals all season. Maybe his head falls off. Who knows? But I really do not think it is. Now, I've got absolutely loads of housekeeping to do today because
All right. You guys go check out 442. I really appreciate the hard work he puts into these videos, and it helps me learn. Man, I'm so, I've said it so many times. I'm so excited. I'll see you guys in the next video.